Hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Okay. Okay, so let me start. Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to all of the participants. We thank you and welcome to the briefing on Standard Operating Procedure S.O.P on the ventilation improvement in non-residential building or space during COVID-19 pandemic. For your information, the Ministry of Local Government and Housing Sarawak, MLGH, has been entrusted by the Sarawak Disaster Management Committee, STMC, to develop S.O.P on improving the ventilation in non-residential building or space during the COVID-19 pandemic. Therefore, MLGH has been collaborated with experts from UNIMAS to develop the relevant S.O.P and presented it to STMC for validation. This S.O.P has been certified by the STMC and will be adopted statewide by various government agencies, the private sectors, and the industrial sectors under the jurisdiction of each ministry. For our briefing today, will be presented by IR Rudianto bin Filman Jong, a lecturer from UNIMAS at the Faculty of Engineering, and Puan Khatijah binti Afandi, Environmental Health Officer from the Ministry of Local Government and Housing Sarawak. Before starting our briefing, a little reminder to all of the participants to turn off their microphone, and if there's any question during the briefing, you can ask the question at the end of the briefing. Therefore, with all due respect, I ask IR Rudianto bin Filman Jong to deliver his briefing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I didn't get your name just now, sir. Okay, I think I share my screen straight away. Hold on, yeah. Sekejap. Screen one. Okay, can all of you see my presentation? Can I confirm? Is my presentation visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sorry, I cannot see the chat now. Okay. First of all, thank you very much for the invitation for the briefing today. I'll try to keep the briefing short because I have a very long slide basically, but I'm not going to cover everything, and I'll be sharing the slide with all of you in the chat box later. And then in the slide itself, there will be a lot of links that you can follow to the documents. I'm sorry that we have to go the other way around. Supposedly that Puan Khatijah have to introduce on the infection behavior first, only then we can go to the selection of the equipment. But then due to the commitment as a student, because I'm currently studying, I have a class at 10 o'clock, so I have to go first on this. I hope it is okay with you. But before we go into the selection of the portable equipment and also the ventilation fan, let us look into just for some idea on the principle of mechanical ventilation in a building. Okay. In the recent years, 1 or 2 years, recently in 2021, it become a very dominant issue on the transmission of COVID-19 through aerosol, meaning that it can actually be transmitted through air. And then there are a lot of cases that being studied by technical person, by researcher, talking about this transmission of COVID-19 through droplets and as well through aerosol transmission, particularly in the area with a very bad or not good ventilation system inside the room itself. Meaning that, for example, for this case, this is happened in Guangzhou. This is a very famous case when people talking about COVID-19 transmission due to the bad ventilation inside the room or inside a space. So what happened here is that the trend or the behavior of the transmission of the COVID-19 in this restaurant, it happened consistent with the path of the airflow from this air conditioning system, which is a split aircon system. And the room itself does not have a good mixture of fresh air and also, a return air inside the room itself. That's why you can see that the air is moving straight in the path of, if you see the red dotted B1, B2, B3, and so on, these are actually the case, the infected case from that restaurant in Guangzhou. This is one example. And then another example is that this is also in China, also in a departmental store in Guangzhou. What happened is that only 3 people are basically being infected through close contact, and the rest are being infected through aerosol transmission. So the droplet transmission only affected these 3 people, and the rest are actually being infected through aerosol transmission. Okay, and then another example of aerosol transmission is through the duct. This is in South Korea, where there is a high-rise building, and that high-rise building, the patients or the confirmed case in the high-rise building is consistent with the sharing. In this building, there is a shared duct, vertical duct for ventilation, particularly for their toilets, and particularly there is an air duct where they use it for we call it as a ventilation stack. So because of the effect that we call as the stack effect or stacking effect, the transmission of the COVID-19 is believed to have gone through the ventilation stack, and this is not to say confirmed. This is believed to happen because the cases are consistent with the shared ventilation stack. It is happening in the same column or same vertical arrangement of the apartment itself. That's why they believe that the ventilation, the COVID-19 transmission could happen through the ventilation stack or ventilation duct. Okay, some explanation on some ventilation or some kind of air supply system and air ventilation system in our building. We have 2 types basically. We have a centralized type and we have a decentralized type. Decentralized is a split system lah. Split system, if you see in our office and so on, most of the time you can see there is an outdoor and indoor, wall mounted and so on. Those are split system. If you can see there is an ASU in our building, that is most likely is a centralized system. Okay, so what are the difference between the centralized system and also the decentralized system is that most of the centralized system will have fresh air bring in into the space or into the room. Okay, in a typical centralized system, we will have components like outdoor air damper, where the outdoor air damper is the damper meaning that some kind of if we have an all type of window, kalau kita ada dekat rumah kita dulu, we have some kind of rumah-rumah kampung, we have louvers, right? So damper is some kind of louvers that we can actually open fully, partially open, and fully close to control the movement of the air. So in a typical centralized system, we have the component that we have is normally outdoor air damper, which are responsible to supply fresh air into the system or into the space. And then we have an ASU. Okay, ASU is the air handling unit, where the air is being mixed, air being filtered, and resupply into the room. And then we have supply air diffuser inside the room. And then we have the return air damper, where the air will actually eventually go through the return air grill and then pass through the return air damper. And sometimes in centralized system, they provide exhaust air damper. Exhaust air damper will actually remove part of the air inside the room out to the to the outdoor surrounding or outdoor environment, and then eventually the outdoor air will replace whatever that is being exhaust out. Okay, this is how the air behavior move basically in a centralized system. So the outdoor air will come through the outdoor air damper and then going through an issue, okay, and then being filtered, being cleaned by the issue, and then being supplied to the room. And basically the air being supplied to the room is a cool air. So the cool air, based on the physics principle, we will have the cool air to drop down because of the heavier density. And then the warm air, after a certain amount of time, what will happen is that our body generate heat, and then the cool air will actually being utilized in terms of the energy to cool down whatever that is within the room, either equipment, either us as a human, and so on. So the air will eventually become warm, and then the warm air will rise up, and then by natural behavior of the air itself, when it rise up, when we have the return air grill here, will actually eventually return to the issue or being exhaust out. Okay, and when it return to the issue, it'll be mixed with the fresh air or the outdoor air, and then being filtered again, and that is the circle of how the air movement inside a centralized system. Okay, if we have a centralized system, you will be presented with the S.O.P later by Puan Khatijah, where we need to do some kind of air flushing once a day, or if it is a shift, then every shift we have to do some kind of air flushing. So how do we do air flushing? Is that for the system that we have an exhaust air damper and return air damper, and also outdoor air damper. So what we have to do is that we have to open the outdoor air damper and open the exhaust air damper and close the return air damper. The reason is that we don't want any mixture of air to come back into the room during the flushing. So during the flushing, what do we intend to achieve is that we intend to replace all of the air inside the room with a new set of air. Okay, so we open the outdoor air damper and then allow the fresh air to come in, and then the cool air eventually will become warm air and then rise up, and through the return air damper, through the return grill, it will go straight away out of the room and then being replaced with another set of outdoor air. Okay, this is how we are doing flushing, most likely for about 1 and 2 hours only. Then after that, we will set our aircon system to a normal operating mode again. Okay, if the system does not have exhaust air damper, so exhaust damper, so what do we have to do is that we just have to open open the fresh air damper at a maximum opening. So open fully the fresh air damper. If we have any windows, doors and so on, we just open the windows and the doors so that the air inside the room will basically have the chance to exit the room or exit the space, and in that way the fresh air will always be introduced for that 1 or 2 hours, and then the air inside the room will escape, because when we introduce new set of air inside the room, it will actually pressurize the room, and then through the openings, through other openings like windows, doors, and so on, it will eventually allow the air to exit. Okay, this is how we flush the system. This is one of the component in the S.O.P to be presented later. Okay, and then if we have a decentralized system, normally in a decentralized system, okay, decentralized system is a split system lah. We have the indoor and the outdoor. Ini yang biasa kita tengok, we see those wall mounted, ceiling cassette and so on. Ini yang kita biasa tengok in our office, apart from the central system. So in the decentralized system, what we have is that we don't have any fresh air introduced into the room. We don't have any air being exhaust or being expelled from the room. So what will happen is that during the operation of the aircon system, the cool air will basically circulating at the bottom of the room, and then the warm air will rise up, and then the warm air will return to the indoor unit and being cool again, and then the whole process will basically be repeating throughout the operation of the aircon. The bad thing is that there is no chance of fresh air being introduced into the room to basically dilute or clean the contaminant or contaminated air inside the room itself. So the air will be circulating inside the room again and again and again. So how do we basically do the air flushing for this decentralized system? Is that if we don't have any exhaust fan and so on, we just have to open the window or open all of the door for 1 or 2 hours. If we have exhaust fan, then we have to open the exhaust fan at full capacity if it is variable in speed, or just allow the exhaust fan to operate continuously during the operation. Alternatively, what we can do is that we can actually partially open the window all the time, or we can open the window intermittently. Maybe every half an hour, every 1 hour we open the window, and then for maybe 15 minutes, this can actually increase the fresh air being introduced into the system. Okay, this is how we do it. And then for ventilation, we have 3 types basically. We have 3 what we call as 3 strategy. We can go by supply ventilation, meaning that only fresh air being supplied into the room, and then whatever that is in the room is hoped to escape through other openings, like door, windows, seeping through under the door and any openings available. This basically will create what we call as positive pressure. And we have the exhaust ventilation, exhaust only, meaning that we only supply, we extract the air out of the room. And by extracting the air out of the room, we create a negative pressure inside the room. And then hopefully by the negative pressure inside the room, we can introduce fresh air through openings like door and windows. And another strategy is that we have a balanced ventilation where we have the supply and exhaust together. So we combine these 2, supply and exhaust, it become a balanced ventilation. So for balanced ventilation, it is good for spaces with a very limited opening to the outdoor. Macam bilik-bilik yang tak ada tingkap, tak ada very limited direct opening to outdoor space lah. Okay, for air movement, it is desired. There are 2 types of air movement. We have what we call as displacement flow and also entrainment flow. So if we want to install exhaust fan or ventilation system, the best is that we achieve this kind of flow, what we call as displacement flow. Displacement flow meaning that the supply air is being supplied from one side, and then the return air is from another side of the room. So we can actually create a one directional flow, and the mixing of the flow inside the room, mixing of the air inside of the room is kept to a minimum. This kind of design or this kind of installation method will promote the removal of pollutant or removal of contaminant inside the room by replacing the air inside the room. And then another ventilation method is that or another pattern of flow is what we call as entrainment flow. So this entrainment flow is widely used or widely practiced because of because of space constraint, sometimes because of the cost constraint and so on. I'm not saying that entrainment flow is not good, but it has to be installed properly, or it has to be properly designed or properly configured, so that we don't have what we call as something like a dead that end or that zone of the airflow where the air does not really leave the room. It is only recirculated within that area, and this is bad if we are having a situation something like now where we have a potential of aerosol transmission through the air. And the risk of entrainment flow is that we might have a direct flow for the supply air to the what we call exhaust air or return air, where the supply air does not really dilute the air inside the room. It is just passing through the room and then just goes straight out without being utilized inside the room itself. This is what we call as short circuit lah. This is what we don't want. So these are some basic principle of mechanical ventilation, and some explanation will be part of Puan Khatijah explanation later. So what I'm going to do next is that I'm going to go straight to the selection of portable air cleaner and exhaust fan. Before we go to selection of portable and air cleaner and exhaust fan, let us look into some kind of the effectiveness or whether or not portable air cleaner really help in reducing the aerosol transmission or aerosol or transmission of disease through aerosol or through airborne. This is one study in Australia. This is one study in United States. Before that, this is one study in United States where this is not actually an actual event, but this is being simulated where the person, the speaker, participant A, participant B, those are actually a machine that generate aerosols. They put this machine here. And then they place a HEPA, a portable air cleaner with HEPA at certain location of the room to see the effectiveness of this portable air cleaner in reducing the amount of aerosol inside the room itself. And it is found out that the air cleaner works best if it is placed somewhere in the middle of the room or somewhere at the center of the room, and also very, very close to the source of the aerosol. It would work best if it is close to the source itself. And it was found out that if we use mask alone, the face mask alone without the air cleaners, it can actually reduce the aerosol transmission by 72%. So without the mask, only with air cleaners, only up to 65% reduction. But if we combine both air cleaner and mask, it will give us around 90%. So we cannot say that if we put air cleaner in the space, we can actually go away with mask. Air cleaner, we can say it is an additional to what we are practicing at the moment. Still, we need to practice what we have now, but putting air cleaner will actually help as an additional measure. And there is one study in Australia. This is an actual study where they put portable air cleaner in a ward, in a patient ward, and it can actually remove, and the air cleaner itself can actually remove about 12 times of the volume of the air inside the room for an hour. 12 kali. Clean air delivery rate is about 12 times of the room volume per hour. And it can actually remove the particles or the aerosols 99% within only 5.5 minutes. But this is a very big air cleaner if we compare to the size of the room itself. So the room is small, and the air cleaner is actually able to filter out 12 times of the room in an hour. It can actually function removing almost everything in about 5.5 minutes. So this is one case. And if you're interested, there is a few cases that you can have a look into later. I have listed here. I'm going to share the PDF of the slide with you in the chat box right after my presentation. Okay. When we talk about air cleaner, this will be explained further by Puan Khatijah later. The particle that we are concerned about is basically, if you look into the coronavirus, it is in between of 0.1 to 0.5 micron. The bacteria that we have is around 1 to 3 micron. The dust particle that is being promoted that can be filtered out by using PM2.5 filter is around 2.5 micrometer or micron. But our respiratory droplets is around 5 to 10 micron. So what we have here is basically, if you are talking about aerosol, is somewhere around 0.1 to 1 micron, or it can be in between of 0.1 to 10 micron itself. But what we are concerned about is that the coronavirus itself is 0.1 to 0.5 micron. But then the coronavirus itself, it doesn't really, suspended in the air by itself. It is being blanketed, or it is being carried by the aerosol. And the particle size of the aerosol itself is not really the same size as the coronavirus. It is actually slightly bigger, but it can go up to maybe around it can go to as small as 0.5 and less than 1 micron. That's why the filter selection is very important. Okay, there in filtration of particles, we have the strategy of either by using straining. Normally, this is for very big particle where the particle is bigger than the gap between the fiber of the filter. We can go by inertia, where the particle is slightly smaller, but it have the momentum that can actually prevent them from going around the filter. And if the flow direction change, and the particle will not be able to change the movement, and eventually it will be impacted to the filter fiber. And this is what we call as inertia or impact. But if the particle is smaller, we can't use where we cannot use inertia or impact. We have to use what we call is interception. So interception, the particle is able to follow the flow of the air, but we can actually capture the particle if the particle is about 1 diameter or very close to the fiber. Dia macam kita tangkap guna jaring atau it is basically the fiber itself being attracted to the particle, or the particle itself being attracted to the fiber because of the cost, because of the material itself. This is one method. And then another method is if the particle is much more smaller, it doesn't really follow the flow of the air. Instead, it is going haywire around the movement of the air. And then we hope that by using the movement of the particle, it can be captured through what we call as diffusion. Diffusion meaning that due to the rapid movement of the particle, eventually it will get stuck into the filter fiber. And then another method which is not preferable, but it is widely used, is electrostatic attraction. It is not to say it is bad, but in terms of the lifespan of the filter itself, because eventually if a lot of particle being stuck into the filter, the charge will get neutralized. So for electrostatic attraction, if there are a lot of contaminants inside the room, the filter will actually have to be replaced quite frequent, because the charge will eventually get neutral. Okay, if you look into how do we define the filter, particularly HEPA or any filter in hatchback system, or air filter is through the term what we call as MERV, MERV. MERV is minimum efficiency reporting value. Okay, and this MERV is basically being measured at the lowest point of the smallest at the most penetrating particles that can pass through the filter itself. So if you look into this graph here, what we can see is that for the region maybe around 0.7 micron and above, the impaction or interception method is very effective to capture the particle. Anything below 0.3, anything below 0.25, diffusion will give around 80% of efficiency of capture. But in between of 0.25 and 0.7, we cannot really use one type of capture mechanism. So it is a combination of a capture mechanism where we can't really see what is the efficient or the effective capture mechanism until we test it properly. So that's why we really need to have a very good filter if our particle is in between of this zone. And unfortunately, our SARS-CoV-2 virus is in between of that zone where it is in between 0.1 to 0.5 micron. Okay. Like I said just now, the air filter is being rated with MERV rating. And if you look into the S.O.P later, there will be a MERV rating of 13. Okay. That is recommended for HVAC for centralized system. The rest for portable air cleaner and so on, we are recommending to use HEPA, at least HEPA H13. Okay, and the MERV rating is basically from these standards, and also HEPA is governed by this standard ISO 29463 and also EN 1822. Okay, this is for HEPA, and then the rest for HVAC filter. HVAC is actually heating, ventilating, and air conditioning system. Is governed by HVAC standards. Okay, if you look into the category of the filter, only filter with MERV 13, okay, MERV 13 rating and above can actually capture the particles of 0.3 micron, where this 0.3 micron is where the droplet, aerosol, and so on could be there. So anything below 13 can only capture the smallest of 1 micron. So that's why we are recommending 13, but 13 is the lowest efficiency, around 55 to 60%. If we go further up, our existing system, aircon system, might not be able to work because of if the filter, the higher the rating the filter, the less air can pass through the filter. So with the less air can pass through the filter, we have to do some upgrading to the blower, to the motor, and so on. They might not be feasible for all of business owners. That's why we are recommending MERV 13 if possible. Okay, this is a recommendation only. It's not a mandatory inside the SOP. You can have a look into the SOP later lah. Okay, so basically, if like I said just now, MERV 13 can only give around for SARS-CoV particle. Okay, we are talking about 0.3 micron. Okay, which is at 0.5, it can only give around 70%. 65. Okay, around 65% here. Okay, and at the smallest particle is around just over 40% efficiency of filtration. This is for MERV 13. If you look into the number, MERV 6, 8, 10, 11, 12, for MERV 13, for the most particle of 0.5, it can only give around around 65%. So that is good enough because we have ventilation into our system as well. And this is HEPA. Okay, HEPA, if you're talking about H13, it can actually filter out around 99.95. Okay, 95. So it is very good. This is under EN 1822. If we go under the ISO, it is rated as 35H. Okay, so H13 is good enough if we have it. Okay, before we go into the selecting of portable air cleaner, first we have to assess whether or not we need the air cleaner, because ventilation is still preferable as compared to the air cleaner. Whether or not we need the air cleaner, it is based on the guideline by the WHO Chartered Institution of Building Services Engineers and so on. So we normally refer to WHO, DOSH, EPA, and so on. From their guideline, most of them agree that we prioritize ventilation. We prioritize bringing outdoor air for fresh air into the room rather than having straight away jumping into conclusion to have the air cleaner. So the important thing is that we have to assess whether or not there is an openable window or any ventilation system. Ventilation meaning that if we have exhaust fan, if we have supply fresh air fan, if we have openable window and so on. So if we have that, then most likely we don't need an air cleaner. We don't need a portable air cleaner. So we can improve, or we can straight away assess on the ventilation whether it is enough or not for the occupants inside the space. If it is enough, then definitely we don't need air cleaning. How do we determine whether it is enough or not? We just have to practice the current S.O.P based on the current physical distancing, and under the DOSH recommendation or DOSH guidelines, we are required 10 liters per second per person, which is something that we cannot really measure on site for everyone. So what we can do is that if we have an openable window, very big window, and we are confident that the airflow can pass through, the fresh air can actually reach into all of the room itself, and we can help circulate the fresh air by using fan and so on, then most likely we don't need portable air cleaner. Okay, in the case that we don't have any openable window or any existing ventilation system, we have to see whether are there any possibility we can install any ventilation system like supply air fan, okay, or exhaust fan. If we can install exhaust fan, then most likely we don't need a portable air cleaner. If no, only then if no possible ventilation can be installed, then we have to look into whether the room, is it necessary to be occupied or not. If not necessary, if we can avoid the room not to be used for long hours working, then don't occupy the room. Then that solves our problem. We don't need air cleaner. Only if it is really necessary, we need to use that room. The room having no window, no opening and so on, no ventilation system. Only then, if we cannot avoid, not using the room, only then we provide portable air cleaner. So how do we select a portable air cleaner? So to select the portable air cleaner, we have to look into the filter itself. Filter have to be at least H13, or normally it is going to be specified to remove 99.97% of 0.3 micron particulates. These are some example. I'm not going to go through the link. You can click the link later in the documents to have a look into example of several brands that specify either H13 or 99.97 removal, 99.97% removal of 0.3 micron. So the next thing that we have to look into is that after the filter, we have to look into the clean air delivery rate. So clean air delivery rate is basically how much the air can be cleaned in certain amount of time. Normally, the clean air delivery rate will be specified in cubic feet per minute. And this clean air delivery rate is basically the term being introduced by AHAM, which is the Association of Home Appliance Manufacturer, in their standard, this standard lah. But then we are not going to use exactly their definition, because their definition is meant for 8 feet height of space. And then it is actually going to use 2/3 of the room area being converted into CFM, of cubic feet per minute. So if the seller of the air cleaner can actually use this rule, it is also acceptable for you to purchase the air cleaner based on their recommendation. Okay. So in the S.O.P later, measurement of CADR is being measured for only limited to the room with ceiling height of 4 meter. So anything above 4 meter, I think for us, we believe that it is best for the occupant or the owner of the building to use ventilation rather than air cleaner, because for any room with very big volume, using air cleaner will cost the owner very huge amount of money. So that's why ventilation is cheaper to be installed if the room is very, very big. Okay, so how do we select the portable air cleaner? We have this guideline, and the guideline is available at this link. Hold on, yeah, let me. Okay, this is the guideline, and the guideline is available at the link in the presentation that you can follow later. Everything is available there. So first is that we have to determine the volume of the room. Volume of the room will be determined by length, width, and this one is the guideline. I think I'm not going to go through one by one lah. Based on the volume of the room, then from the volume of the room itself, what we do is that we refer to the S.O.P. We look into what are the CADR value that is required in the S.O.P. based on the type of the room. Then we multiply the CADR with the volume of the room. Then we get the CADR, clean air delivery rate for the clean air for the air cleaner. And then what do we do is that we bring that value of clean air delivery rate to the supplier. Then the supplier will help us to do the selection and so on. That's how we use it. But to assist all of you, if you are having trouble to basically use this guideline, what you can do is that you can download the calculator, and then the link of the calculator is available in this guideline. Dalam guideline ni ada link to the calculator that you can download. Use this Excel. What you have to do is that you just have to select the type of the room based on the S.O.P, type of the building based on the S.O.P. For example, if let's say my room is 5 meter length, 4 meter width, and 3 meter height, so the volume will be 60 here. Okay, and then after that, just select the type of the room. Okay, maybe if it is centralized aircon, it become 4 times of exchange. This is based on the S.O.P. This will be explained by Puan Khatijah later. And then what you have to do is you just have to bring this 3 value, 240, 67 liter per second, and 141.6 CFM. Bawa value ni pergi kedai, then the seller will select this the air cleaner with this value for you. Okay, this is for air cleaner. And then okay, next is for exhaust fan. So exhaust fan, the purpose is that we want to extract the contaminated air out of the room. So that's why we need to install exhaust fan. Normally to install the exhaust fan, we need to make sure that the airflow is from the cleaner area to the less clean area. Kalau kita ada dapur, so make sure that exhaust fan is not being installed at at the area will bring the air from the kitchen to the area that is clean, like living room and so on. So it is best to install the exhaust fan at the kitchen so that the air will be bring to the kitchen from the living room. Okay. Contohnya lah, there are a few types of exhaust fan. You can see there are wall mounted, ceiling mounted, okay, ada window mounted, glass mounted that you can select based on the suitability of your space lah. If you are unable to do it on your own, you can always hire a contractor to basically do the assessment. And we also have a centralized system for big spaces and so on. Okay, how much fresh air is required? It depends. For us in Malaysia, we have to follow our DOSH guideline, which is 10 liter per person, 10 liter per second per person, which is for us is quite hard for us to measure 10 liter per second per person on site for everyone. So what we do is that untuk kita measure for everyone is quite hard. So I did the same thing. We come out with a table where that table, which is the table 1 itself, is the calculation of based on the floor area. Okay, the calculation will be based on the floor area, and that is also available with a calculator. So this is how we do the selection of the exhaust fan. Okay, ni contoh dia. For exhaust fan, sorry ya. Okay, this is also available through the link inside the presentation. As opposed to the air cleaner, exhaust fan, we only need the floor area. We don't need the volume. So with the floor area, then refer to table 1. Table 1 is in the same document, okay, based on the type of the space that we need. Okay, based on the type of the space that we are in. Okay, ada banyak jenis space dekat sini. Those space yang tak ada dalam ni, you can actually you can if you need help, then you can always contact us, no problem. Okay, so from the space, determine the rate. Okay, and the rate is basically have been calculated for 10 liter per second per person. Okay, based on the normal or default occupancy density for the room itself. Okay, and then after that, sama juga macam portable air cleaner, we multiply the rate with the floor area, and then we have what we call as sorry, for this case it's not CADR, it is actually ventilation rate. Then we just use this ventilation rate, bawa pergi kedai, then the seller will basically help you to find the exhaust fan. So similar to this in the same Excel file, you can see there is a tab for exhaust fan sizing, and then you can use this to basically size the exhaust fan. First, you have to input the width and the length to find the floor area of the room, and then you have to select. Okay, untuk type of occupancy, you just have to select what kind of room. Okay, if it is not available here, please contact us so we can assist you in the rate. Later, mana yang ada dalam ni, you can straight away select. It will give you the liter per second per square meter. Okay, and then after that, it will give you straight away the value that you have to bring to the seller to get the size of exhaust fan. It is quite convenient if you unable to refer to that guideline one by one, and then you're having trouble to follow the guideline, and then straight away just use this calculator to assist you. And then for toilet and shower room, it is not based on the floor area. It is based on the number of toilet, urinal, and shower inside the room. So it is just divided into public, private, and also shower room lah. Okay. It is quite straightforward. Just use the calculator, and then you can always refer to the guideline if you have any issue lah. Okay, this is available here. You can download it later. Okay. This is the Excel calculator. Sama juga. It is available in the guideline to be downloaded. And then some external calculator also available here from Panasonic, KDK boleh pakai juga. And then if you are installing the exhaust fan, remember in the principle of ventilation, make sure that we have, if possible, we have a cross flow. We have what we call as a displacement flow, where the air is almost moving in one direction, or air inside the room is being replaced by fresh air if you are installing exhaust fan. This is not recommended because we will have a short circuit and this zone will not be ventilated. Avoid this kind of scenario lah. For this kind of scenario, what you can do is that the installation can be done here and also here. Okay. This is back on the type of flow that I've explained earlier. Okay. I think that's it from me. And all resources can actually be downloaded in this folder. Boleh download dekat sini. I'll share this presentation in the chat box right after this. So thank you very much. I hand back to the host. Oh, sorry, saya tak nampak chat tadi. So semua dalam bahasa Inggeris. But my slide is everything is in English. If you need help, you can always contact us later lah. No problem.
Okay. Thank you to IR Rudianto bin Manjong for the briefing. So next, we move to the next briefing regarding the COVID-19 transmission and ventilation by Puan Khatijah binti Effendi.
Okay.
Sekejap, Puan Khatijah.
Okay, sure, no problem.
I request the permission to leave because I have a lecture at 10 o'clock just now. So thank you very much for the invitation. If you have any question, any issue, you can always contact us through MLGH. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rudianto. All right. Okay. Assalamualaikum and a very good morning. I bid to everyone in this Zoom meeting. Is everyone ready? Can you hear me? If perhaps, if yes, boleh type Y dekat chat box just to see the response in this Zoom meeting. Okay, good. I can see that there are multiple agencies in this Zoom meeting. I can see quite a number of response already. Okay. All right. I guess I can start now. Okay. Give me a moment so that I can share this slide. Okay. All right. Okay. So before I start, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Khatijah binti Affandi, Environmental Health Officer at the Ministry of Local Government and Housing in Sarawak. Actually, today I am replacing my boss, Mr. Billy, to share with all of you here the S.O.P on ventilation improvement in non-residential building or space during COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, let me begin with the first slide. Presentation first, which is about the COVID-19 transmission and ventilation. Okay, you guys can see the slide now, right? I'm sharing it right now. Dapat oh? Host, dapat taga slide oh? Okay, sure, good. Okay, so this slide actually should be given by Professor Dr. Elsem Suting, which is a lecturer from UNIMAS. Unfortunately, he cannot join us today due to other urgent commitments. So I will just briefly go through his slide, just to give the rough idea on this COVID-19 before I jump into my ventilation S.O.P slide. Yeah. All right. Okay. I believe semua orang just not tahu how COVID-19 virus being transmitted from one person to another, because kita dah di-expose this knowledge since we hit the early stage of pandemic COVID-19 kan, which was about more than a year ago, March 2020. So I'm just going to refresh and recap macam ni COVID-19 virus tu spread from one person to another. You can see here, there are 4 cara of this COVID-19 virus being transmitted. Number 1 is through aerosol spread, meaning to say it can be suspended in our breathing air. Okay, this is what we, for example, we know that the new type, which is Delta type, is transmitted through aerosol ataupun udara. And then number 2 is droplet spread. Itu adalah yang original how COVID-19 virus being spread, which is through droplet spread. For example, when a person who got infected by COVID-19, nya sneeze ka, nya cough ka, nya si pakai face mask, so the droplet from his or her may be transmitted to other person yang close to nya lah, if that particular person si pakai face mask also. And then number 3 is, of course, direct contact. If we bersalam or skin-to-skin contact with those person yang ada COVID-19 virus, so the chances of that person to be infected is quite high. And then last but not least is indirect contact. Okay, although just skin-to-skin contact, but like I mentioned earlier, if a person yang sneeze and then droplets from coming up from his mouth or nose may fall onto the surface, for example, meja ka, kerusi ka, and if that next person pegang benda ya, tempat ya, so that particular person might have the chance of getting this COVID-19 lah. All right. This slide, I believe that Mr. Rudianto have also shown just now, but I'm just going to show you guys the basic, the sizes of the COVID-19 virus. Boleh tengok situ, the particle size of coronavirus is only 0.1 to 0.5 micrometer. It's very tiny. You can even see it with your naked eyes. If kita compare dengan sebutir garam, berapa kali ganda ya. And that's what people now say that during this COVID-19 kita berperang dengan musuh yang kita dapat tanggal lah, not with our naked eyes. Alright. This slide, you can see it explains about the virus in the respiratory droplets from a person infected with the virus that can be suspended into our breathing air if the size is less than 10 micron. Okay, tapi if nya berat daripada 10 micron, it would drop by the gravity to the surface. Okay, this slide show berapa jauh, you can see here berapa jauh a droplet can reach when a person sneeze, okay, without wearing a face mask. Like I mentioned earlier on, even with a social distancing of 1 meter pun, that particular droplets boleh terbang. Okay, so that is why that is why it is important for us to always keep our face mask on, or even cover your mouth lah bila you sneeze or you cough. Okay, this slide show the possibility of COVID-19 virus transmission based on the particle size and how the virus can penetrate into our respiratory system. Okay, the smaller the particle size, is, the easier it can penetrate into our respiratory system. Okay, Tok Sama Jua, I will not go into the detail part of it. The most important thing that we need to know is this virus has the possibility to be transmitted through air when we inhale it, and therefore it can penetrate into our respiratory system ataupun sistem pernafasan. Okay, why does size matter? Okay, this is the difference between the virus bila nya come from a droplet ataupun aerosol. Okay, if droplet, it likely spread directly ataupun face to face. Okay, macam I mentioned earlier on, droplet dari a person infected by that virus can be transmitted to other person. Bila nya batok, bila nya even talking. Okay, and then it spread limited by gravity because berat yang boleh jatuh dekat surface. And it can contaminate the surface. That's why we are advised to always keep our house, our table, dekat office semua clean lah. And then it can spread within a confined space, and usually trapped in the upper respiratory tract. Meanwhile, if you compare to those virus, if it's transmitted through aerosol, it can suspend in the air, and then it's spread by the air currents. It can also spread beyond a room. Jauh lagi boleh pergi, and the effect to a human being is it can penetrate into lower respiratory tract. This is the difference lah. If droplet, yang only upper part je. If aerosol, yang lower part of the respiratory tract. Okay, the control measure, I believe that everyone has already know about this, but sebabnya dah di blast off in social media a few months dah. Okay, so I just run through a quick one here. Okay, for example, you need to maintain your social distancing and then keep your personal hygiene clean, and always to decontaminate your the surface because takut ada yang
mata pop keluar pun ada.
Yes.
Nah, tek sana.
Oh, okay. Surface decontamination, and also not to forget to always wear your PPE. Now even we can double mask.
Sampai yang senang mata tengok tepi dinding.
Yeah, di VSS Betong, any question kah so far? Oh, maybe turn on kali. Okay. Never mind, I just proceed. Okay, how do we improve the ventilation? All right, this will show you the basic idea on the main points that are in the S.O.P, which I will go through in detail later. Okay, itu adalah example of the building if you have a centralized air conditioning system. Okay, I will not go through detail for this part as it already been explained by Mr. Rudianto earlier on. I just want to explain how it relates with my S.O.P ventilation slide later on. Okay. You need to do air flushing. How are you going to do that? First thing is to open the outdoor air damper and also the exhaust air damper to 100% with your aircon running. Okay, this activity is the main objective of this activity is to regulate the air within the building so that fresh air can come in and udara lama boleh keluar. Pak kata orang tua supaya nyasi bekum lah. Okay, and this mesti dipola hari-hari, minimum of 2 hours. Okay, so example, if the building having a split air conditioning system, okay, sama juga, you need to do the air flushing by opening semua tingkap, semua pintu, any entrance of the building with your aircon system running lah, just to flush the air inside the building. All right. These are the types of space configuration that are in the ventilation S.O.P. I'm just going to show you some example photo just to give you a rough idea on how this space looks like, so that when I explain on the S.O.P ventilation later on, later on, I will you will have a clearer picture lah. Okay, I just read the chat box that you need a 5-minute break. After this first slide, I will take a break of 5 minutes before I continue with my second slide. Is that okay with you? Okay, kah host? Alang-alang habis this presentation, I mean the first slide, then I will take a 5 minutes before I continue to my second slide. Okay, if no response, maksudnya boleh nak? Okay, I saw the response already. Yes, okay, good. Okay, sikit lama lagi. Just want to show you the picture aja. Kita tengah gambar. Okay, see, itu adalah enclosed building or ataupun space with centralized air conditioning system. Okay, most of the example here are shopping mall lah. So, untuk Vivacity. Okay, I will explain through the detail part later on in the S.O.P slide. How it relates lah, untuk macam gambaran aja untuk all of you here can have a clearer picture. Okay, this is the enclosed building with openable windows and split air conditioning system. Okay, kau selalu ada dekat bank, dekat shop house, okay, pharmacy. You can see it a lot lah here in Kuching area. And then this one, building yang ada openable window tapi siap ada aircon. Okay, untuk contohnya, normally at office lah, office dekat upper level at the shop house premises. And this one is an enclosed building, siap ada window and siap ada window ataupun ada window but the opening is not possible. Dia siapa buka. Like our office here at Batu Pakmur, like my office here lah, kencang ada tapi nya lock, dia siapa buka. So I will share with you, with all of you, how are we going to improve the ventilation later on if you are in this category lah of building. Okay, number 5 is a building with wide front and back entrance opening. Normally you can see this one at the coffee shop. Depannya luas, siap ada pintu, and then dekat dapur, bahagian ruang dapur pun siap ada pintu. Maybe they just use the shutter lah untuk buka and tutup. So big opening. Kedai makan banyak. And then the building or space yang with less than 50% perimeter wall. This one normally dekat corner, kedai makan yang dekat corner of the shop house. Okay. Tapi ruang bukaannya besar lah, luas lah. Good ventilation here. Alright. So maybe perhaps I will take a 5 minutes break just to minum air ka, go washroom ka, or just to absorb all the info that all of you have been captured and gather from since 9 a.m. Maybe 10:30 we'll meet again. Okay, host? If pihak secretariat, okay?
10:30 lah, we can join lagi.
Alright, 10:30. Alright, 5 minutes break. 10:30 we'll meet again and I will explain on the second slide. Alright. Thank you. Okay, I think 5 minutes is up. Perhaps if all the participants already in this Zoom meeting, we can proceed to the second part of the presentation. Okay, yes, all right. So without further ado, I'm going to share the second slide. Dah minum dah? Okay. Alright. Okay. Okay. So the second slide I would like to share with all of you here is the standard operating procedure S.O.P on the ventilation improvement in non-residential building during this COVID-19 pandemic. Actually, you can download this S.O.P in our MLGH website. But however, I will share with all of you the slide after the session, after end of this session. Okay, I'm going to skip this background. All right, this is the principle of the S.O.P. You can see that the main objective of this ventilation S.O.P is to reduce the risk of airborne transmission. That's why we need to dilute the air and exchange the contaminated air with fresh and clean air as frequently as possible. This part, Mr. Rudianto has perhaps host can kindly mute your microphone so that it will not interrupt the presentation session. Okay. So this is the example of the building typology based on the mode of operation, which I have mentioned earlier on. I have shared you guys the photo also tadi. All the types of buildings and space yang ada terdapat dalam S.O.P ventilation tu lah. Okay, now for the first part is building yang tertutup tapi menggunakan aircon yang centralized. For example, shopping mall like I mentioned earlier on. And then these are the example lah. Hotel also lies under this category. Okay, this SOP terbagi kepada 1, 2, 3, 3 component. Pertama is the maintenance part. Okay, dalam SOP tu although kategorinya berlainan tapi maintenance pun partnya still sama, which is first thing you need to do is to appoint a suitable person to be charged of the implementation of this SOP. Maksudnya suitable person is the orang yang bertanggungjawab lah untuk melaksanakan SOP itu, orang yang ada kuasa to give decision or orang yang boleh memberi kata putus lah in order for you to implement this SOP. Okay. The person shall perform inspection and checks on the ACMV, which is the air conditioning and mechanical ventilation system, just to ensure function as per design a day before you start the business hour. Okay. Have to check the air conditioning semua running correctly or not lah, and then to keep a maintenance record of the aircon system. Okay, and then the part 2, the component 2 of this SOP is air dilution and exchange. Like I mentioned earlier on, you have to perform the air flushing at least once for a minimum of 2 hours each time. Tapi mesti pola hari-hari just to make the fresh air masuk and the udara lama keluar. Okay. And then tapi for the premise yang beroperasi 24 jam, this air flushing activity need to be performed during every shift change. More frequent if those premise yang beroperasi selama 24 jam. Okay, this one also I explained earlier on. How do you do the air flushing is to buka semua outdoor air damper ataupun exhaust air damper to 100% with the aircon system running. Okay, make sure pintu, penjan, tingkap semua dibuka lah 100% so that the fresh air, the clean air boleh masuk and then do the air flushing inside the premise or inside the building, then it keluar. Okay, it can keluar by at the outdoor pun entrance. Okay, during the daily operation, the entrance of all partition spaces mesti fully open at all times. Okay, pintu penjang mesti buka. Si dapat tak tutup-tutup lagi because we want to make sure the ventilation inside the premise is good. Okay, this is what being explained by Mr. Rudianto just now, which is air filtration. We need to install air filter with MERV 13 and above to the air conditioning system. Okay, air RV means to say that minimum efficiency reporting value. Yang dah explain tadi why this SOP perlukan 13 lah. I will not go into detail of that because the technical part is the UNIMAS side lah. Okay, if the installation of MERV 13 to the aircon system is not possible, okay, if si dapat nak install MERV 13 tu dekat aircon, but however you can also install a portable air cleaner tapi pakai HEPA grade H13 and above. Okay, and then the required CADR, this one maksudnya clean air delivery rate of the portable air cleaner should be at least 4 times of the total room volume per hour. Okay, another component that you can install is the UVGI, ultraviolet germicidal irradiation into the existing aircon system. This one, I believe Mr. Rudianto pun dah give example just now. Okay, on to the next category is building yang tertutup with openable windows tapi menggunakan sistem aircon yang split. It's not centralized. So this is the main thing that you need to do. Okay, like I mentioned, the maintenance part still the same. Masih guna pakai yang macam yang before tu. The changes is only the air dilution and exchange part and also the air filtration pun part. Okay. Alright. For the air dilution and exchange part, okay, you need to perform air flushing 3 kali sehari. Maksudnya before start operation and then the midday and also towards the end of before you close the business hour. Okay, 3 kali. And then for a minimum duration of 1 hour each time per day. Tadi minimum of 2 hours, stop minimum of 1 hour. These are the changes lah. But this one is still the same. Untuk premise yang beroperasi secara 24 jam, terpaksa perform air flushing during every shift change. This one masih sama. And then how you perform the air flushing pun sama dengan yang before tu pun SOP, which is to buka semua penjan, buka semua pintu, all the entrance of the building and let the aircon running. Okay. If ada exhaust fan pun switch it on job. Okay. And then this one also the same. During the daily operation, semua pintu, semua penjan mesti dibuka just to let the fresh air come in and all air udara lama keluar lah. And then the existing exhaust fan shall be operated continuously during business operation hours. This one I have explained just now. And then additional improvement you can implement through the air filtration is to install portable air cleaner with HEPA grade H13 and above, and the required CADR of the portable air cleaner mestilah 6 times of the total room volume per hour. Tadi 4 times, but now if you are lies under the category of split air conditioning system, it will be 6 times. Okay, next is the category of enclosed building or space with openable window tapi without aircon. Okay, nya ada penjang yang boleh terbuka tapi si ada aircon. So the maintenance part sama juga, we need to appoint a suitable person, and then the air dilution and exchange is still the same with the previous category, which is that you need to perform air flushing 3 times a day, before start, in the middle of the day, and prior to closure of your business hour, for a minimum duration of 1 hour lah, each time per day. Okay, how are you going to perform the air flushing is to buka all the window, buka all the entrance of the building, and don't forget to switch on your ceiling fan and also your portable fans, as well as your exhaust fan if ada. Okay, sebabnya saya ada aircon, I believe mesti ada kipas lah, regardless nya ceiling fan ataupun portable, you just have to switch it on. Okay, and then tapi when we perform this air flushing using this fan, using kipas, make sure that portable fan mesti face towards the window ataupun ruang keluar, just to blow the air out of the building. Okay, during operational hours, existing exhaust fan mesti operate continuously, so boleh tutup. And then during the daily operation, the entrance untuk setiap entrance, setiap window of the building should be open all the times lah. With fan blowing out of the window whenever possible. Like I mentioned just now, mungkin laptop pergi kedai makan, si boleh tumpu kipas yang dekat customer lagi lah. So the kipas mesti di face towards the window or towards the entrance out of the premise. And then the air filtration part is still the same, to install air cleaner with HEPA grade H13 and above, number 1. And number 2, the required CADR of the portable air cleaner mesti at least 6 times of the total room volume per hour, sama dengan the previous category. Okay, for category 4 is enclosed building, siap ada window, and then without a window ataupun yang ada window tapi window yang si dapat dibuka, and then siap ada centralized air conditioning system juga. How are we going to improve the air ventilation if our premise lie under this category? Okay, pertama sekali you need to pasang both fresh air supply fan and exhaust fan on the opposite walls. Okay, and like I mentioned, the exhaust fan must not be installed above the entrance. Okay, it must be installed on the opposite walls. And then perform air flushing continuously throughout operation of the premises. Okay, this one you need to do it continuously. Yes, ada 3 times a day like previous category, tapi yang mesti di pola sentiasa continuously. Sama juga, you need to do the air flushing by opening all the entrance of the building, okay, with both fresh air supply fan and the exhaust fan running. if the enclosed space within a building, outdoor air must be introduced into the space through the building by necessary means. For example, pakai building duct system. You have to install the building duct system. I believe this part Mr. Rudianto has explained in detail earlier on. The choices, the types also pun yang dah explain earlier on. Okay. Tapi sekiranya installation of fresh air, supply fan ataupun si dapat nak install the exhaust fan at this premise due to maybe perhaps the building structure mengizinkan. So how are we going to do is we can perform air flushing by just opening the entrance, pintu, penjan semua buka, number one, and then you have to switch it on your air conditioning system. Number two, if ada kipas, switch it on also, but make sure it face towards the entrance, towards the way out of the premise. Okay, this one need to keep running at all times lah. This is how you do air flushing activity if buildingnya si ada window ataupun yang ada cumanya siapa dibuka. Okay, if semua di atas tu si dapat di-install, cannot be implemented due to the nature of business, perkara-perkara yang tidak diizinkan. So this space or room just can't be used lah for permanent occupancy. And the following additional improvement must be implemented before business activity can be carried out. Okay. This is the air filtration ataupun additional improvement that you can install if semua di atas tu tak dapat diimplement. Pertama sekali, we need to install portable air cleaner, HEPA, Greg hashtagging sama juga, and then the CADR of the portable air cleaner must be at least 6 times of the total room volume per hour. Okay, number 5, macam kedai makan dek. Okay, yang kedai makan dek is a type of premise building yang ada wide front and also back entrance opening. This normally lies in the category of kedai makan lah, like I mentioned earlier on, yang pakai roller shutter je untuk tutup. Most probably food court lah, banyak contoh macam tu. Okay, for the air dilution and exchange, you just need to allow the natural ventilation as usual, melalui semua penjan and also opening at all times. Number 2, you need to operate ceiling fans at all times. I believe that if one premise nya si ada aircon, mesti ada kipas lah. And then, however, like I mentioned earlier on, you cannot direct the kipas dekat customer lagi. You have to direct the wall fan ataupun portable fan towards the opening. Maksudnya menghala ke penjan ke, menghala ke pintu. So the wall fan or portable fan should not blow towards the occupants. Alright, this is the category of kitchen. If it's within the building, okay, what we can do here, just to make sure your exhaust fan is clean and beroperasi secara penuh mengikut design yang telah ditetapkan setiap hari sebelum business hour start. And then need to operate the exhaust fan continuously. Okay, sentiasa di-operate during operation hours and make sure all dampers, semua penjan are fully open. Okay. If the exhaust fan si ada, we need to install the exhaust fan as well, just to direct the airflow out of the building. And then all the window opening in the kitchen facing the external side of the building must be open at all time during the operation hours. Okay, semua penjan tingkap pintu haruslah dibuka. If let's say improvement masih dapat dilakukan because of perkara-perkara because of the nature of the business ataupun nature of the building structure. So the kitchen dapat digunalah because we would want the ventilation inside the premise is good. That's why S.O.P diguna pakai lah. And then sanitary system, check water seal to prevent any leaking. Check apa-apa default lah yang ada di kitchen tersebut and prohibit the use of hand dryer. This one is an interesting part of this S.O.P. It was highlighted by Dr. Elsom previously that to prohibit the hand dryer because as he explained in the previous taklimat, he mentioned that when a person infected with COVID-19 virus, when he wash his hand and use the hand dryer, it might produce aerosol, and it might produce aerosol, and that aerosol may be suspended in our breathing air. And when the next person use it, the chances of getting or inhaling the virus is quite high lah. This is what he explained in the previous taklimat lah. Okay, now is a category for toilet and shower room within a building. Normally toilet ada dekat kedai makan, but shower room some ada, some tiada lah. Okay, for hotel and spa, yes, ada dua-dua tau. Alright, for this, what we can do here is to sama juga dengan yang kitchen pun kategori that we need to ensure your exhaust fan is clean and functioning as per design setiap hari sebelum memulakan operasi business, and then to operate the exhaust fan continuously and to make sure semua opening dibuka just to ensure that the air flow out of the premise or the building. Okay, if the shower room is not fully walled up and has a wide upper wall opening to outdoor directly, then installation of exhaust fan is not necessary. Maksudnya, if tempat bilik mandi ada, sometimes the bilik mandi dia si 100% wall up, if nya setengah aja, so the ventilation, the udara boleh keluar melalui ruang tersebut lah. Like the previous component, like the previous S.O.P, if siapa asyik dapat pun nak improve anything to this toilet or shower room, therefore the toilet or shower room siapa digunalah. Okay, this one pun sama juga. To check the water, okay, to check if ada any defect, and then prohibit the use of hand dryer. I already mentioned and explained earlier on, and put notices to advise closure of toilet cover before flushing. I think this one before COVID-19 strike us pun, I think it's a good practice. You just make sure that before you flush, you tutup lolok lah, and then you flush, because we don't know apa-apa yang orang before thoughtnya pakai, and then aerosol might spread into our breathing area. Just to be just to take the precaution measure or control lah, just to close your toilet cover before you flushing. This one is I think is a general info lah, regardless ada COVID kasi, this one should be implemented lah. Okay, this is the keywords that maybe all of you can refer to, the short form. Okay, and just want to, I think that's the end of my presentation here. I have deliver two presentation. One is about the COVID-19 transmission, and the other one is the COVID, not COVID, S.O.P on ventilation, which you can get from our MLGH website. I think that's about it. Two of my presentation and one delivered by Mr. Rudianto for this for today's taklimat. Okay, perhaps I hand over to the host, MANRED. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Puan Khatijah, for the briefing just now. So, there's any question from the participants regarding the briefing just now? From DVS, Sakra, SLDD, do you guys have any question?
Selamat pagi Puan Khadijah.
Yes, selamat pagi Puan
Okay, Mahani here from Sakra. Ini regarding S.O.P tu sebab ada yang the latest is 30 hari bulan 9, betul?
Yes.
Perbezaan yang saya tengoklah ada dekat bahagian nombor 3 untuk S.O.P nombor 3. Sebab dekat yang nombor 3 yang untuk 30 hari bulan 9, the latest one dia untuk maintenance, dia sampai nombor 4. So should you use the latest one or just 24 hari bulan Ogos tu?
Okay, my apology for this part. Perhaps you can use the latest one lah, of course.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
So based on the chat box, there's no question from any of the agencies. Yeah.
Puan Khadijah.
Yes, yes.
Puan Khadijah, saya Bernard dari MANRED.
Okay.
Regarding the S.O.P mengenai air dilution and exchange, so it mentioned that perform air flushing 3 times. Jadi yang ni perlu dibuat record ke atau macam mana?
Maksudnya buat record?
Maksudnya perlu ada bertulis ke ataupun kalau kita buat flushing perlu ada record ke?
Oh, I see. Okay. Actually, untuk part yang air flushing door is up to the management itself. Actually, the owner of the premise. If you can record it, will be better. In case if ada apa-apa mau refer, senang lah. And then if not, just to make sure that the yang I mentioned just now, the suitable person should know lah bila on the occasional time yang akan pola the air flushing 3 times a day.
Okay, alright. Thank you.
Okay.
I think that's about it for our briefing today. So once again, I would like to thank you to IR Rudianto with Manjong and also Puan Khadijah binti Afandi for giving us a quite good and clear explanation regarding on the S.O.P on the vaccination for this COVID-19 pandemic. So here, I would like to thank you for all the participants for attending on this briefing and see you guys next time. If there's any other briefing or whatnot. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Host, you mau ambil gambar kah? Just for record kah?
Okay, if you can, for all of the participants, can you guys open up your camera so that later on I can screenshot the picture? Ready? So 1, 2, 3. Ada lagi ya? One more time. So 1, 2, 3. Okay. I think that's about it. Thank you.